Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is J Shit, I fucked it up. Mardrice Henderson.
J Mardrice Henderson, yes,
That's
sir.
right. All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. This is a wonderful setup you got.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. This is amazing. I love all of this.
Appreciate it, man. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Sure. I am J Mardrice Henderson. I'm an actor. I'm a playwright. I'm a writer, director, and all things performing arts. I just love performing. So I'm a performer, essentially. Right. Storyteller. I like storytelling.
Ooh, yeah. Let's get into it. So let's start from the top.
Yep.
So where are you from?
I am from Warren County, North Carolina, which is a very small town.
Wait, what's it called?
Warren County.
Warren County.
Warren.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of the name.
Really?
Yeah.
Because no one else has. So lucky you. It's one of those towns that it's one of those. Well, I grew up in Norlina, which is a city in Warren County.
Oh, okay.
And the subsect of Norlina is Ridgeway.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just bringing it all down for you. Have you ever heard of Seven Springs Winery?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That's in Ridgeway. That's literally where I grew up. Ah. And before the winery got there, it was one of those towns where you like drive through and you look back and say, "Did you feel that?" That's how small the town is.
Damn.
Yeah. So very, very rural.
So what part of North Carolina is that? Like mountainside or?
So it's on the very line of North Carolina and Virginia. So South Hill is like maybe 3 exits away from where I grew up. South Hill, Virginia.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you said you grew up and your mom.
So my mother was an educator.
Okay.
For 30 years, she retired. But growing up as a kid, she always read stories to me every night, and so I enjoyed that. So when I learned to read, I chose not to read to her because I want her to read to me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So one night, she read me a story, and I was like, I started reading with her, and she was just going bonkers. And so she asked the lady who watched me after school. She was like, "Did you know Josh?" My real name is Joshua.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
Did you know Josh could read? And my kids were like, "Yeah, he's been reading to me for months now." So that's why I say being told a story is very important because it leaves an impression on who's accepting of the story.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's why storytelling is something that's an adjective. Storyteller is an adjective that I like to use.
Yeah. So let's go a little bit more deep into it. Why did you what about storytelling is it that you like?
I think because imagination. It's all about imagination for me. So when you're telling a story, even the source that it's coming from, you still have your own interpretation of what's going on in that world of the story, right? You can create. The writer has his own intention, of course, but then as the recipient of the story, you can create your own world within the world that the storyteller is telling you, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, especially in theater, I'm a theater actor.
Right.
Everyone has a different interpretation of a story when you go into that room. Even in a movie theater, people get certain things from certain parts of the story, and I think that's what the magic of storytelling is. That you can come away from the story with something different every time.
Yeah.
Or different than anybody else.
Yeah, I think a good story also kind of aligns with what you're saying as far as not giving away so much, but letting the audience finish it for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. We have to trust, especially in this day and age when knowledge is everywhere. You can look up anything. Trust that the audience is smart enough to make their own decisions or make their own conclusions. Yeah. I think sometimes we want to be older stories, they kind of super fed us everything like, here, this is what you have to think, this is what you have to do. But I think you can trust the audience to know that, hey, this is what the story is, and this is how we're concluding it, or this is the assumption that we're making. Yeah. And you can take from that whatever you will.
Right. Yeah. I like the I used to train with someone who trained with Lee Strasberg.
Oh, sweet.
So the Lee Strasberg technique is an acting technique. Yeah. And for the people who don't know, but she said she didn't like when the character would cry. And with tears and everything like that. Like the best is when the character is trying not to cry and it's welding up, but there's no tears running down.
Well, there's a certain statue or something. I can't think of the right word I want right now, but there's a certain presence that brings. Because you're not giving yourself over to that emotion, but you know it's there.
Yeah, and then the audience finishes it for you.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's Stella Adler, which I studied at UNCG. Is she didn't want to see the actors going to that place where they had to, because a lot of times actors are taught think this, and that's brutal for an actor to put yourself in that place. be in the moment, be in the situation, and the emotions will come. That's the way that I approach acting as an actor. Because if I try to take myself to a place mentally where I was hurting, now me as myself is in a mental place that I probably can't come back from as easily as I would like to, and that takes away from the story that I'm telling. So be in the moment. I believe acting is reacting, and if the moment is there, the emotions will come.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting the fact, like, you know, you got Stella Adler, you got Meinzer, you got
Stanislavski, and all. Yeah, they're all in there.
And it's like, I don't know. It's like I when I taught acting, I always took from everybody, and you know, kind of a collaboration of all.
Right. Yeah, well, I think everyone has their point because just like a story, there's so many angles that you can come to it with. So I think all of these disciplines that we have in acting, there's merit to them all, and there's something that you can take from each one of them. I was reading a book by Douglas Turner Ward called Advice to the Young Black Actor, and he was saying how we approach things different, because we come into this space with the body that we're in, and we have to take account for that. So a lot of what Stanislavski did and Stella Adler did, they don't look like us, or they don't walk around the world like we do.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to take presence in knowing who we are as a person, and then coming into the performing space with that knowledge.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That brings up a fact of, like, you know, you got all these teachers, but like a lot of them were white, you know? And so, like, does that change when you're talking about, like, different cultures and stuff like that?
Of course, I think so. There's different disciplines within the culture of people. Of course, like certain things that we say at a black cookout, or maybe our counterparts call a barbecue.
Yeah.
Those realities are totally different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to realize that even when we go into the stage arena, like, we have to realize that culturally we approach things different. We receive things differently as a culture. Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with, like, I don't know, like a teacher or something like that, and or you're reading a script in class and stuff like that. Like, is that I don't know what I'm trying to articulate this, but like, is it like, because, like, the teacher can't tell you if she's white, she can't tell you, like, how to
she doesn't
act
know your
black
experience,
or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to take an extra step, maybe.
I think, I went to a predominantly white institution, so a lot of times I was the only black person in the room. And so I came in with a perspective that was different than most of my counterparts. Yeah. And so I came in to the room, as I said, as a black person. I'm a black man first.
Yeah.
You're going to see that on stage. I could be doing Othello, I could be doing Shakespeare. But when I first walk on that stage, the audience is going to see a black man.
Right.
I have to suspend their disbelief into believing me as this character, and that is the person that I am. Does that make sense? So I think when you get into those situations, you have to approach them in a way where it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Because you are the first partaker of this story. So you have to make sure that you believe what you're doing, and once you believe it, you are able to make your audience believe it.
Yeah.
Or the recipient of the story that you're telling.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I never actually put the whole, you know, white teacher, you know, different color students together. You know,
there's not many disciplines or stage like directions or stratagems and curriculums that come from, you know, people who aren't white. I can't think of any at the moment. So you have to be able to translate what you're given into how that fits the culture and the vernacular of the people of the place that you come from.
Yeah. Do you think if there was, like, a Stella Adler, like a black Stella Adler type, you think that would change?
I think it would open up that space more, the theatrical space more, because I think a lot of times. And we've mentioned this. I've mentioned this in other places that for black people or for people of color, they see theater as very rigid and coarse because it's so strategic in the white vernacular, the white spaces. So sometimes we're a bit apprehensive because it's like, well, we don't see ourselves in that. Like, where do we fit into that?
Right.
So if we did have that approach, or did have those scholars and those teachers to say, like, hey, we know how you talk, we know how you walk, we know how you feel. And that's let's add that to what we already have. So I think it would open up the space more for Black actors or BIPOC actors or creators to be like feel more accepted in those spaces.
Yeah, I wonder if there's gonna be like in the future, like,
I don't know, but if Viola Davis starts a class, I'm there.
I feel like she has a master class, doesn't she?
Every time she hits that stage, she's a master class. Every time she hits that screen, her and Denzel and Samuel L. I want to sit there and just like take in, because you got to think they have created those spaces with the knowledge that was received from the Stanislavskis, from the Stella Adlers. They did their work. Yeah, they did that work. They took those approaches and they made it their own. Right?
Yeah.
So learning their process, I'm sure, would be phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's take it back more. So you're a little kid, you know, you love stories.
Right.
And then, so how was it growing up in the household? Do you have siblings or stuff like that?
Yes, so I have an older sibling who's 10 years older than I am.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 8 years old, he moved out at 18.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I pretty much kind of grew up like he was right down the street. He moved in with our grandparents.
Oh, gotcha.
So, because he wanted his own independence.
Right.
Which wasn't as independent as he thought it was. But that's another story. But I kind of grew up as an only child. I was very, very introverted. I loved books and writing and stories. So my parents had me older in age.
Right.
So a lot of my caretakers, the people who watched out for me after school, they were more mature. So I grew up, after school, we would watch like The Young and the Restless.
Oh, wow.
Which is a soap opera.
Yeah.
And so for many years, I was ashamed to say that I watched soap opera because, people look at soap operas like they're very lowbrow, they're low quality, it's very heightened situations. But as I got into like acting and theater and seeing how they're putting up productions daily.
Right.
That takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
So I look back at those and I'm like, these are my first acting teachers, sort of. Before I knew who Stanislavski was, before I knew who Stella Adler was. Like this, Andy Griffith in Matlock, and my dad loved In the Heat of the Night. Like these were my teachers. These showed me how to create emotion, how to tell a story. So that's really kind of like where I was. And so I took that, started writing my own stuff.
Well, hold on, going back just a little bit. When you were like watching TV and watching those movies, did you kind of find yourself like acting?
Oh, sure.
Like along with it?
I will forever credit my first productions that I ever did on the front steps of my grandmother's porch.
Oh, nice.
Right, because my cousins and my family's close, but they were. I had my own stage. The front steps, like that was my stage. Yeah. I created characters. I created situations. A lot of times they were kind of in line of what I saw in those soap operas because that's what I knew. If they were in line with Matlock, it's like, so who did this? Who was the culprit in this? Who was the killer? How do we find out this situation?
Answering the why question.
Yeah, and they were usually one-man shows because, again, we were a close family, but my cousins were like, we don't know what you're doing. We're going to play kickball. Yeah. But I'm like, this makes sense to me. This is my world. This is where I am.
Did your parents I don't know if both of your parents were around?
Yes, my parents were.
So were they like, we got to put this kid into acting class or something like that?
So my parents, they weren't really, I grew up in a very, very religious, strict home. So they didn't really know what to do with what I was doing.
Same.
And because I was from a very, very small town, there weren't many opportunities to do like theater and acting. We had like one theater, I think, like way away in like what I call Littleton, which is a town a few miles away.
That's right.
I can't think of the theater now. I think it's still there, actually. I can't think of the theater. But because it was in Littleton.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, have you ever heard of it? If we can think of it, I don't know. But because I was such an introvert, like even if they were to put me in that, I wouldn't feel as comfortable. My mother tried to put me in programs where I could like be with people like 4-H and T-ball, and I'm like, yeah, that's not my bag. Yeah. I don't have an athletic bone in my body. So I'm like, yeah, that's not me. She wanted to get me, I really am grateful to her for doing it. Sure. And she wanted me to socialize more. Right. I'm just not a social person. And people see me on stage or they see me in theater and things like you're an introvert? You don't stop talking. Like, no, I have mentally prepared to be amongst people, but I'd much rather be in my room reading a book or writing a story or watching a movie. Yeah. I think the people don't get the mental preparedness. Yeah, you have to.
You know what I mean?
You have to.
Especially when you're not used to dealing with social crowds and stuff like that.
Because I'm very socially awkward.
Yeah, I can be too.
Right. So,
but yeah, I get that for sure. People tell me that you seem like an extrovert. I'm like,
right. And see, my family, I come from a family of extroverts. My mother and my dad was a little bit reserved, but my mother and my brother have never met a stranger in their lives. Like they'll just go to the grocery store. I'm like, hey, have a whole conversation. I'm like, get in the car. I'm like, Ma, who was that? Oh, I don't know. She spoke, I spoke, and we just had a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Did you find that hard growing up?
No, not really.
They didn't really tease you or be like, why are you talking?
No,
stuff like that? Oh,
no,
that's good.
Not really. They were. I think they always knew that I was different, but they didn't they didn't belittle the fact that I was different.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
That's
Because
really
I grew up in church, so sometimes I would like put on a show where I like mock the people who were in church. I would mock the pastor, or I would mock someone who like had caught the Holy Ghost, right? And so they put on those little, and they took pleasure in that. They were like, okay, we don't know what's going on with you, but we see that there's something in there, and maybe you'll figure it out at some point.
So were you acting in church? Like
yeah.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
kind of going ahead. So in the 8th grade, I think I wrote like my first play.
Really?
In English class.
Damn.
Yeah. So it was an assignment to write our own play. And so I did that, and like some of the class members like read it, and like people really, really enjoyed it. So I continued writing it, and I would just like pass it around to my classmates.
Damn.
Like I had like a whole I wish I could find them. I don't know what happened to them now. I had like a whole like series.
Really?
I actually just thought about that.
Damn.
Sitting here. It was kind of crazy what I can remember of it. But yeah. So that's how that kind of, the writing part kind of happened.
Right.
And so in high school,
Wait, hold on. Let's go back to that real quick.
Sure, yeah.
So what kind of led you to that? Was it just like...
So my eighth grade, no, I'm sorry, 7th grade.
That's right.
My 7th grade English teacher, Mr. Dexter Stevens. I will never forget him. Yeah. He was by far the best English teacher. We read the Iliad. We read Invictus, which is a poem that we had to learn. So on the first day of class, he gave us like a page full of like poems that we had to learn and recite. And at the beginning of each class, we would have to recite one of the poems from that list.
Damn.
Right, and memorize it by heart.
Right.
And then we read the Iliad, and we would have to pick out like prepositions and prepositional phrases. And so he helped me fall in love with like words and language and English. And so from that, when he gave us the assignment to write our own play, because of the foundation that he had set for the love of words in English, it just kind of flowed. And then with the teachings from The Young and the Restless, all just kind of came together in this play. And when we read it, people were enjoying it. Like, what's next? What are you going to do next? And so I just like kept going with it.
Damn. That's wild, man.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's like sitting here thinking about it, it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah. But like, did you find it hard to write it?
Or no, it just came very easily. Like even now, like when I actually sit down or have time to sit down and actually write, it just kind of flows.
Damn.
Right. So, and then of course you have to revise and, read over again. And all scripts, all plays are meant to be read out loud. So a lot of times a lot of my friends, we get together and just read them. And they would give me, feedback, and I'll go back and revise it. Because writing is revising at all times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of like, I regurgitated almost.
Damn. That's wild. Do you think it's because like you were reading books and like you said, watching TV and stuff like that?
For sure. My mother always told me when we would go out, I would always have my little book with me. Yeah. And I was always reading something. So
imagination, right?
Thanks to Barney, imagination I was always there. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, talking about imagination a little bit, did you like create characters on your own and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Was it good? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Those one-man shows, I was every character every character in the show. Right. So it probably looked crazy. I probably should have needed therapy early on, but I think it worked to my benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been proud if my son did that.
Well, again, but we're not a very artsy town. Right. People like we had a drama club in like high school, but like it was kind of like one of those classes you just took an easy A. More of the funding from our schools, because we were in such a rural area, we weren't very affluent. So the money, the little bit of money that we did have in the county went to like sports and athletics, because that's where people were interested in.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much of an arts type thing. Like we had band, we had one of the best bands in the state. We won several trophies for that.
Is that high school?
Yeah, the Dynamic Marching Machine.
Interesting.
So look them up. They were pretty sick.
I thought my high school was the best.
Well, no, I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We toured in Europe in my freshman year to compete as one of the best marching bands, high school marching bands in the world, and we got first place.
Okay,
so I know you might won state, but I think we got the world.
We won several national championships. I will say I wasn't in the band. I was just kind of like, oh, okay,
gotcha.
Do your thing, y'all.
Yeah.
Because again, I can clap my hands. That's about all I can do. Yeah. As an instrument.
Oh, gotcha. So that was 7th, 8th grade, right?
7th, 8th grade. That's how that went, and then got into high school. Again, and
did you continue writing like that?
Not as frequently. Not as frequently, because when you change grades, people that were in that class, we kind of meandered away from each other. We were still in the same schools, but we weren't having those reading groups anymore.
Right.
So I didn't really write as much. I kind of wrote for myself mostly.
Okay.
Like maybe like paragraph form, like novels type thing. But they were not good.
Yeah.
From what I recall.
You didn't really have like a plan with it though.
No, it was just something to do, just to get it out of me because it was there. And I just continue that skill.
Well, it's interesting that you made it a point to write it out and get it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was my expression of myself for sure. Because I've never been an emotional person.
Right.
Like again, I'm very, very introverted. I'm very reserved. But when I write, I let out whatever that outlet is that some people let out emotionally. I let out,
Yeah, in writing form.
In writing form.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Whew, man. So let's get into high school. How was that?
So high school, I joined choir because, again, I'm a church boy.
Right.
And they were kind of forced me into that because, again, I'm very, very introverted. And they were like, well, come on. We know you, because we come from a community where we know you sing in church. So come on, do that. So we did that, and that was successful.
Yeah. You a good singer?
I sing in church. That's a whole different thing. I am a background vocal.
Got it.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. I
you
can
do
back
good
you up.
in a group.
Right. I can harmonize.
Okay.
Other than that, then it is what it is.
Right.
You get what you get. But then 11th and 12th grade, I was like, let me get back to writing. Right. So I wrote my first actual fourth.
Wait, why'd you say that? Like what came about? Like did something happen or?
I'm not really sure if anything prompted it.
Just kind of like this.
Just kind of. No, I do know. So around that time is when Tyler Perry became prominent. Those plays that he was doing. That's really that kind of. I'm like, I see that. I can do that. So I started writing, and I asked my pastor, I'm like, hey, I wrote this show. Would it be okay if I did it at the church? And he was like, cool. So I self-produced, self-wrote, and acted in my very first production in my local church.
Damn.
With some of my church members. Actually, it was the summer before I went to college.
Really?
Yeah, 2006.
Wow, man. So let's talk about the writing process for that. Right. So you wrote it, but how many revisions, obviously, right?
Well, again, so I didn't. There weren't many revisions for that
because you were kind of learning.
And I was following the model that Tyler Perry was doing. Right. It was religion based, faith based, and it was singing, and it kind of just told the story of Black experiences or what things that happen in the Black homes amongst Black families. So I was like, okay, I got that. I'm Black.
Right.
I know what the Black experience or the Black household is. I can do that. I know gospel church songs. So let's put all that together and create something.
Damn. Wait. You had songs in it as well?
Yeah. They probably couldn't show it now because it's all copyrighted.
Okay.
Right. But we used modern church songs of the time that people would know. And that because I was in the choir at church, I just put some of the choir members in it. Some of my family was in it. Some of the church members were in it. It was like no one had any actual training.
Damn.
But they were like, hey, we support you. And I did like 3 of those.
Wow.
Like, for like 2 or 3 summers I did that.
So that's like pretty much your directorial debut kind of thing, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you say it, because I was directing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we had like a full band and everything.
Wow, man.
Wow.
What about like?
I hadn't really thought about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So the directing, but you have did you have rehearsals with it?
We did.
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
And that's where the struggle was, because again, these weren't actors. They were people who went to church who just gave me their yes.
Right.
But then again, if they're not actors, they're not as committed.
Right.
Right. And they're just, pastime. It's just a little fun thing to do. But of course I took it serious.
Yeah.
But again, so you kind of have to be a little lenient with that. So people didn't know their lines. A lot of it was improvised.
Yeah. How did you take that?
I took it as underneath.
Get your lines straight.
Underneath, I was like burning up, but I was like, "Hey, you're not paying these people. You can't afford to pay these people."
Okay, so you had that knowledge of.
Yeah. They just love you, and they're here to support you as best they. And we received a lot of great accolades in the community. Like, so that's why we came back and did 2 more shows that I wrote. And so, but I knew that no one else in there had the same vigor that I had about acting.
Yeah.
So I was just grateful that I wasn't the only person on stage doing all the characters. That's pretty much what they were there for, not to be the other characters.
Right. Well, I mean, that's pretty, I guess, wise of you to realize that, hey, they're not as committed as I am, and that's okay.
I mean, there were times I'm like, hey, y'all, come on, man. Like, take some of this seriously.
I said 6 o'clock.
Right. Learn your lines.
Right.
Or we'll just have to work around it.
Right.
And then what I love about plays is that they're live and they're right in front of your face, but if you don't have the script in your hand, as an audience member, you don't know what's supposed to be going on. Right. So we're on the stage and like, that wasn't supposed to happen. He's in the wrong spot, but we're just going to go with it.
Right.
We'll figure it out as we go.
Nobody forgot their lines or anything? They probably just improvised away, right?
You can't forget something you never knew. But we just worked with it.
That's a good one. I should tell my agent that.
Yeah. So it was fun.
Yeah.
Man, so I hadn't thought about a lot of this in years.
Yeah, well, it's coming back, right?
Yeah, right.
So that first one you did, it was just one time, right, that you performed it?
We did it, I think it was just one night.
One night.
Yeah, we did it for one night, maybe 2 nights.
And so, like, after that was done, how'd you feel about it?
I felt accomplished.
Really?
I was, yeah. There's a videotape of it somewhere. I wish I could find it. But I felt like Tyler Perry in that moment. Right.
You got like round of applause and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
right?
I did the whole, we all walked out and I did my whole little speech afterwards and everything. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Did you rehearse it?
No, not their speech and everything. I was like, no. Like, I've seen enough Tyler Perry plays. I know how this is supposed to go. Like, he gave us the model for, and of course, he wasn't the first one to do it. Sure. He was the first one that came to prominence in that capacity, because people like Jacarius Johnson and David E. Talbot, they were also on like what we call the Chitlin circuit, which is like they go into like local black communities and they do these shows, and it's very interactive. Yeah, and that's another thing for like people of color and like modern stage. It's not very interactive. You're supposed to go in, you sit quiet, and you just enjoy. Right. That's not what the black culture is. We're engaging. Right. Have you ever been to a theater where there's majority black? Well, I can say black for certain. We're going to talk back. Right. It's like, what you doing? Why are you going in there? Yeah. Don't run over there. Girls, you crazy? That's how we are. That's just who we are. Yeah. And if that's not happening, I don't feel as accomplished on stage. Because that, for me, that means that you're involved, that you're engaged, that you're in the story. And I do it as an audience member. If I'm not talking, that tells you how much I'm enjoying the show.
Interesting.
Right.
So, like, with that play, what kind of interactions did you have with the audience?
People were catching the Holy Ghost. People were testifying, and like there was like a praise break during one of them. Huh. And yeah, so because we were in a church, right? So that was the setting was already there. Yeah. And then the story just kind of, because it was a faith-based story, so we had issues at the beginning. And it kind of we as the show went on, it was like showed you how you can come out. It encouraged you.
Yeah.
That you can come out of this situation with Christ as who I and we believed in. With Christ, this is how you can get out of this situation. Right. So it was an arc, for sure.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, for a 17-year-old, probably so.
Hell yeah. And dealing with non-actors as well, you know?
Oh, well, yeah. Right. So, well, I mean, and then, you know, most of the actors were my family, too, because I come from we're a small town, so the whole family went to the same church, mostly. Yeah. So somebody's cousin or somebody's great uncle or, you know, we're all there together.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And then you got the second one that came up, So
the second one came after I came back so I went to college. So the first one was like my senior year of high school. Like my senior year, graduating high school, going into my freshman year of college. And so the second year we came back in that summer and did another show that I had written. Yeah. And I did like the opening sequence and all that stuff for it.
Does it kind of lead from the first or just...
So I created a character called Herbert Hubbard, who is a septuagenarian, crotchety old man who doesn't go to church. But his wife is a faith believer. And a lot of the struggle is everyone trying to convince Herbert to, you know, go to church, find Christ, or do something better with your life. Right. Or the people that surrounded them were like family members, like his children or you know, his sister, so a lot of the basis of the stories came from the Hubbard family. Gotcha. Herbert Hubbard and those who surrounded him.
Interesting.
Yeah. So each play we put kind of like Medea. Right. We just kind of put Herbert in different situations. Yeah. And it kind of just brought out the same.
That's a good knowledge to know, especially like, you know, like the Friends and all these shows that last for 7-10 years or seasons.
Situational comedies. Pretty much. Yeah,
it's all improv based, right? Which is taking a character and putting him in different situations.
There you go.
You did. Yeah. That's great, man. That's awesome. Did you find it easier or harder to write that second one?
I think for the second one, I kind of knew who I was working with. So I kind of...
so you kind of prepped it more.
I kind of knew, like, this person is not going to learn their lines. So I literally had one character who, throughout the entire show, her line was, Like, she would just be the agreeer of every, Because I knew she wasn't going to learn her lines. But she wanted to be in the show. And I'm like, okay, cool, I got you. Yeah. Just... whatever. So there were twin sisters. One sister was very mouthy. Always had something to say. And the other sister was just like, we're going to agree with you. Whatever you say, I'm just going to with you. Right. But see, you see how that's funny, though.
Because, that's a good character.
Right. Yeah. And people love that character because we knew that's all she was going to say. Yeah. And I think at the end of one of the shows, she finally like came out and said something. And people were like, whoa.
Just take it back.
Like, I gave her one line and she killed it. And it was like, whoa, she can talk? Like, she has an opinion? Right. But see how you build that up, and that gives her an arc of like, you think that she's not paying attention, but she knows what's going on. And she has an opinion, and when it's time to give it, she gives it.
Right. Yeah. When did you start taking acting class?
So I never had an actual acting class until I went to college.
Oh, really? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Was it like the beginning of college?
Yes. Okay. So I majored in theater, which probably was a mistake. Because in hindsight, you know, majoring in theater it's great for to get the basis of theater training. Yeah, sure. So I would never say not to do that. Sure. But coming out of it and looking for, you know, stardom or a sufficient like job, right? You may be disappointed. Yeah. Unless you go into like theater management and things of that nature. Right. But so where was I going with this?
I don't know. The acting classes.
Acting classes, yes. Yeah. So I took my first acting classes in Acting 101. Okay. At the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Oh. Okay. And so I come from we were a very religious home. We were very like docile. There wasn't like yelling or anything like that. So I get into this class, and my first acting teacher was very, very boisterous and loud and yelling, and I'm like, so when I hear yelling, I shut down because that means you're mad, right? And I've done something wrong, right? So I didn't really learn a lot in that class because I shut down a lot because I'm like, why are you yelling at me? That's not teaching me how to give you what you want, right? There's another way that you.
She didn't pick up on that.
I don't think they cared. I don't think he cared.
Oh, okay.
I think he had his own way of like teaching, and I think it had been effective because he had like one credit to his name, as in a movie, from the '90s, and I think he had this like air about him that like I know what I'm doing. You take what I'm doing and you do that.
Right.
But I didn't respond to that well. So my first acting class, like I just kind of got through it. You know, I didn't really take a lot from it.
Gotcha.
And so they had a BFA program at UNCG. And I thought, and I didn't audition to get into it because I was like, well, you know, this is not, I didn't feel like I had grasped enough from that acting class to be like, hey, I'm confident enough to go in here and do this and, you know, get into this program. So that first acting class was a lot.
Did it discourage you from not acting?
No. I always knew that I wanted to be an actor. I knew that there had to be another approach to it than what I was getting from this class.
Interesting. And that was, so when you did that second play, you said that was in college. Was that the after college in the summertime?
It was the summer after my freshman year. And I was like, hey, you know, I didn't learn a lot here or felt like I learned a lot here, but what I do know, I'm going to work on that with what I've done before.
Gotcha.
And I felt accomplished in doing that.
Did you?
And I think when I did that, I came back to college that second semester. Right, I'm sorry, it wasn't the summer after. It was the winter. It was during the winter break.
Okay, gotcha.
It was a Christmas show. So after I did that, I went back to that second semester more confident. I'm like, hey, I know who I am as a performer, what I have to offer. So I'm going to go into this next semester, into this Acting 102 class, and be like, hey, I'm confident. I have something to say.
Yeah.
I can present it in a way that, you know, you would be impressed.
So then after the second play, you went back to college. You felt like you had more confidence after the play, after doing the play? Gotcha.
Because I felt that, again, that was my very first like official acting 101. My first official, and because of the way that he taught, it didn't work for me. Now, it may have worked for some other people who were there. And again, I was like was I the only black student in that class? I think so. Yeah, so I went to a predominantly black high school. So again, I'm in this brand new space with all these people who don't look like me. And this guy is yelling. And to me, he's upset.
Yeah.
And we haven't even done anything yet. Right. Like there were literally times where he would like throw a trash can or like throw a shoe.
Damn.
Like, this can't be.
No, it's not.
This can't be right.
That reminds me of like those terrible directors that you sometimes have to work with, and they're just like yelling and like, it's like, what the fuck? Creating tension for the actor is not good.
Right.
Even if you're supposed to be yelling.
I mean, we're doing like proof. Like, why are you mad, dude?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Right.
I don't get it. But so I was like.
But it's almost like you got broken down in that class, and then you had to do something on your own to kind of flourish from it.
To be in hindsight, I think I'm glad that was my first approach into that because I learned what not to do.
Ooh. Yeah.
I knew that that's not. You're not going to get anything out of that. For me. And again, growing up, again, this is a white space with one black person. And most black people in those spaces probably would have, you know, yelled back because it's in our culture to be abrasive.
Right.
When we're approached, we're going to come back at you. That's not how I was raised.
Right.
I was raised in a very docile home. So when there's yelling, I shut down. I'm quiet. I speak when I'm spoken to.
Right.
So that's how I got through that class.
Yeah. And so a different teacher after.
So the second semester, it's a different teacher.
Gotcha. Okay.
God, I wish I remember his name. But it was so much better experience.
Yeah.
Even so, some of the students that I took Acting 101 with was in the same class. They were like, Josh, I don't know what it is, but you've changed. Something's changed about your acting. I'm like, well, I feel comfortable for one thing. Excuse me.
But is that because of the second play that you did?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because again, I had done this second show over Christmas, and I received those accolades from people who I knew, who I cared about, and they were like, they encouraged me, and I knew that they loved me, and they knew that I could do what I could do. So I went back to that school, was like, hey, people have already enjoyed what I've done.
Yeah.
So what you're teaching me is cool. It's great to get that foundation, but I kind of know what I'm doing. And so I went into, I think we did This Is Our Youth. That was the script that I was given for that semester. And, that was
The second semester?
Second semester.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you know that show, it's about two potheads, pretty much. And there's a girl who comes in and they kind of have their own little thing. But I'm like, I've never smoked pot. I've never been in trouble with the law or anything. But because I'm coming in confident enough to know that I can approach this, I can find me in this character. Right. This character, was it Wade?
Okay.
I think his name was Wade.
Right.
And I approach most of my works this way. Every human being wants to be loved and have love. And what Wade wanted in that whole play, he was doing the drugs, he was doing whatever he was doing, but he just wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a part where it's she touches his hat, and it totally breaks up whatever they have going on because he put so much value in this hat and she didn't see it. He loved that hat.
Yeah.
Right. More than he loved her.
Right.
It's if you can disrespect what I love, I can't love you as much.
Interesting.
Right. So I found I come from a place of love. Right. I had my mother, my father, my family. We're a loving family. So I found the love that he had, and that's how I got into that. And the pot smoking, those are just extremities to express who he is.
Yeah.
But there's a place of love that he was coming from, that he was looking for, and that's how I got into that. And approaching it that way was how I felt comfortable in that space enough to say, and got the response hey, you've changed.
Right.
You're more active now. You're doing more than you did in our previous class.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because I always knew we're in a world of love, and all of the characters are fighting for their own version of love.
Right. Yeah.
But I never really connected it the way you said it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. That's nice.
No one wants to be hurt.
Right.
No one wants to be in pain.
Especially the villain.
Right. And even the villain, he's doing it from a place of what he loves.
Right, yeah.
What he loves may be in contention of what you love, but he's going after what he wants.
Yeah.
You have to know what your want is, and you have to know what your needs are in the world of the play.
Right.
I want to conquer you. Right. Because there's something in conquering you that appeases me. See how that goes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also to balance that out, it's also knowing the lack of love that you have.
Sure.
And the fighting for that love.
Right.
Because of the lack of love.
Right. That's really how I approach almost every script. That where is the love in this? And how do I achieve that? Do I achieve that? Should I achieve that?
Is that kind of one of the first things that you think about?
When I'm approached with a character, yeah, most times.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
because we go through life with the people that we love surrounding us, almost. Right. We depending on how you grew up, there's the person who you love from your childhood. It's when you go into the mall and you want to steal something, someone that you love, you're thinking about if I take this, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to hurt this person that I love.
Yeah.
So any decisions that I make is coming from a place of love or wanting to be loved, or how that's going to affect the person or the people or the things that I love.
Damn, dude.
Man.
Yeah, you got some wisdom in you.
Oh, sure. Let's go with it.
but I say that also because that second semester that you took, it seems like you grew, you did it your own way.
Right.
Did you ever do a self-research on how to act and stuff like that in that time period?
I don't think so.
Or is it just trusting you?
I just watched great movies. I watched Viola Davis wasn't as prominent back then, but the Denzels and the Samuel L's, and I watched those, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. They make me feel something, right? And I know a lot of times people go to the movies or go to the theater just to be entertained.
Right.
I go to the movies or the theater or get on a show to feel something, right? And if I don't feel something, I feel like there's a disservice that's been done.
To feel something within you, is it more important than going into a character to make somebody else feel something, like the audience?
I think it's a reciprocal thing. If I feel it, most times, if the audience is open to it,
Right.
they're going to feel it too. Because if you're in a situation where this man is like bawling on stage because they've lost their parent or they've lost a loved one, there's an empathy there that says, I've been in that situation. I know what that feels like, and I can feel with him. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I always say we're the first partakers of any story. Once we get it into ourselves, we can exude that to the audience.
Yeah. It's kind of like when I studied like the law of attraction. It's like, you know, you have to feel really good and then just express it out into the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it comes back to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same approach. Interesting.
For sure.
So that second semester you thrived, right?
Well, I did. So I went back and I auditioned for BFA again because the first time because I didn't audition for it because I didn't feel confident.
I didn't know you had to audition for that. I thought you just took class.
Well, at that institution, you had to to get into the program. It's kind of like you take classes, the menial classes, and then you like get into the actual school that you're going to study, like nursing and things like that.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how it was. Okay. And so I did audition the last time, so I'm like, I don't feel confident enough. To do audition to get into the program because I don't feel confident as an actor. So I went to the second semester. I went and auditioned for BFA.
Can I adjust your mic real quick?
Sure.
I just don't want it to like pull down on your shirt and stuff. So I'm gonna put it a little. Oh, it's slippery. Damn lotion I put on.
I probably need some lotion actually. I wash my hands. I know I'm ashy.
There we go.
Are my hands in this? They are in this.
They are.
Oh well.
No, just one of them.
Don't zoom in, anybody, please.
I'll zoom in. Look at his hands.
He's selling all that good stuff, but those hands are begging for moisture.
All right, so you auditioned?
Yeah, so I auditioned, and there were a lot of politics in the school.
Yeah.
I think they met their quota. Because by that time, other kids were coming in, and it was a whole thing. And so I decided just to be a Bachelor of Arts, to get a bachelor, be in the BA program. Gotcha. And in hindsight, again, I'm glad that I did do that because as a BA, we got to learn like everything about theater, like the sets and the costume. Like I was sewing in labels into like clothes and things like that.
Interesting.
The BFA program was more into whatever study that you were in, like acting or directing. You were focusing more on that. And that would have been great. That would have been great. If I got in, I would have been grateful. But coming into it, I only wanted to act. I only knew acting.
Yeah.
I didn't know the strategies of what goes on behind the sets, behind the scenes. And so as a BA, I was introduced to a lot more of that.
Interesting.
Right. So I had taken appreciation. I still can't build a set, but I know essentially how that all kind of comes together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
gaining that knowledge,
I feel like that's a good knowledge to have, man.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
It gives you more layers.
And it makes you appreciate the collaboration and the teamwork that it takes to put like this stuff together. Like you see the people on screen, but there's like a whole brigade of people behind that camera who is doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And as actors, we would be doing the production of this service. The only thing that we can come in and just say lines and that's it. We have to do work as well. Because the people behind the camera, they're working. They're spending hours editing and all that. You can't just come in, say lines and go home.
Right.
You have to come in with something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right.
It's almost like that was a better fit for you because you were putting on your own plays.
Right.
And so learning all the aspects of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Let's go with it. I mean, it's pretty to see BFA on your degree.
Yeah.
It's pretty to see.
Sure.
But again, and this is not to be braggadocious or anything, but over the years, I've kind of followed some of the people who were in the BFA program, and they are not as, doing as much as I would consider me to have doing. And this is not, to say, I'm better or anything.
Sure.
But it's like, with the BA, I've done this and this and this, and it's like, they had this assumption they would go to New York and California with this BFA, and they would just like go into. I was like,
no, I don't know. Like certain degrees, especially when it comes to like acting and something like that, it's more about the work outside of the school.
Right.
And so like it doesn't really matter if you get a BA or a BFA,
right.
It's
and that's what I learned. But the politics inside that wall of institution is like, if you're not a BFA, you're nothing.
Right. You're not gonna make it.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not one, again, I find company with myself, so I don't feel like I have to like kiss up to you to be accepted into your group. That's not who I am. Yeah. If I have to do that, I don't need it.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Right. Because again, I have people back home who love me.
Right.
And they care about me. You only gonna know me for 4 years, possibly.
Right.
Once I leave this place, I may never know your name again. Right. So I'm not gonna do that.
No.
I'm good on that.
So then second semester was good. What did anything happen during that second semester as far as like an improvement or something?
It's just the confidence of who I was, because with a BA, so if you don't get into like the BFA program, like acting 101, acting 102 is all you get.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it may have changed now. This was early 2000s. So that's all you get as far as acting.
Yeah.
Like you do a lot of like practicums and you do a lot of like other things.
Damn,
but
I didn't know that.
Focusing on acting, that's kind of, where it stopped for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what did you like? I guess you just went with it, right?
I just did what I went and supported friends who were still doing, who were in the BFA program.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll support you. But like in other classes, like we took like playwriting classes and directing classes.
All right.
So some of my constituents were doing that too. So they would cast people in the program for their directing class. So I got to do stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
But actual like main stage shows and things, that was like more geared towards the BFAs and the MFAs.
Sure. Did you get into the writing, playwriting?
I did, yeah.
More?
So I got into playwriting with Ed Simpson, who wrote Elephant Size, which I think actually got turned into a movie some years ago.
Ed Simpson sounds very familiar.
Yeah. And again, John Gully was one of the professors at UNCG as well. I don't know if you know him.
That sounds familiar too.
Yeah. So, right.
I figured, like, as a writer, you would love that.
Playwriting. Right? So, and what was so great is that I took the plays that I wrote in high school, revised them up, and presented them to that class.
Oh, nice.
And they loved them.
Dope.
They loved them. And again, because I think there was another black person in the class.
Yeah.
But again, these were white spaces, and so when they hear that black culture coming out of your stories, they're like, they're enamored.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, I call that Tuesday.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I already had that. That's why you say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
Right. So I already had that stuff there, and I just presented it, painted it up a little bit to fit, what he was teaching us and the framework that he was teaching us. Because again, I didn't really have any training when I was writing before.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like writing down stuff. I'm like, hey, you say this, you say this. But then when I got that, like how a script is supposed to be, formatted, I just kind of like switched it over and just presented it, and it worked out.
Did as far as like what you wrote in high school compared to what you learned as in playwright class, was it such a big difference for you? Did you like learn so much like, oh shit, I was doing it wrong the whole time,
I think that the formatting and the strategy of it kind of that shifted a bit, of course. But the actual telling of the story, I don't think so.
Oh really?
I don't think
okay.
so. The Herbert character I mentioned from the plays, I just took him to his class reunion.
Oh, nice.
Right, in the playwriting class. And I brought that same mouthy sister and the one that just said,
Yeah.
and I brought them to the playwriting class. I brought all these characters that I had made up in my head and brought them to the playwriting class and presented them. And I just formatted it in a way that was presentable for a scholar or someone who knew theater.
Right.
And just presented it to them, but essentially it was the same story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, that's nice, dude.
Yeah.
So you said there was like a third script that you wrote for church.
So
right?
there was a third one that I just remember what happened with that. I wrote it, but we didn't get a chance to. From a church.
Yeah.
I don't think we got a chance to do it. Like something happened. I think so. We had it. It was another Christmas show. We had it planned, and I think we got like a snow thing. And so from Warren County or North Carolina, you see 3 flakes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it got canceled, and we just never got back to it. And then by that time, I was like, I'm gonna have to live life after college. So let me get some internships and let me get money because coming out of school, you're not going to have that.
Yeah.
So I started doing like educational things and like summer camps and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you get into acting outside of college?
I did not.
Since you couldn't do it
I did not. So again, I was very, very reserved and quiet.
Yeah.
So I kind of just stayed in my room,
right.
Contemplating what I wanted to do and wasn't getting a chance to do. And I didn't, so I started driving later in life. So I didn't start driving or have my own car until I was like a junior in college.
Okay.
So there was Triad Stage.
Yeah.
And it was kind of far away and I couldn't get there unless, taking my bus or, and a lot of my friends didn't live on campus. I stayed on campus because I was coming from Warren County.
Gotcha.
And again, very just quiet. I think a lot of being introverted and reserved has its place. But there are sometimes I think in hindsight, I may have missed out on some opportunities because I removed myself so much.
Yeah.
So especially in this business, you have to put yourself out there for people to know who and where you are.
Yeah.
And I learned that later as I got older.
Sure.
But then I was like, they're not doing what I want to do. They're doing it their own way, and I don't really see myself doing it how they're doing it because I don't understand how they're doing it. So I'd rather just kind of sit back and.
So you were okay with that?
I was fine with that.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not someone who gets very, very upset easily. Like everything's just kind of thing to me.
Right. So when did you get back into acting?
So when I graduated in 2010, I moved out here I moved out to the Raleigh-Durham area in 2012.
Okay.
And that's when I started my day job, which we will, we don't have to go into. That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother thing. But I auditioned for a play at the North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater.
That was the first thing you did?
That was the first thing I did, actually, for a young man, Paul Sapp. And this was straight out of college. And so I auditioned for him, and coincidentally, the other actress who got the part with me also went to UNCG.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that crazy? And so we did that show, and that was the first show I had ever done, like on a big main stage, that I hadn't written.
Right.
And so my family came and saw the show, and so I'm not someone who uses expletives in my normal life.
Yeah.
But I was cussing up a storm in that.
Yeah.
And so my mom was like cringing, like, oh God. And then the young lady I was seeing at that time, it was a 2-character show. So the young lady that was in the show with me, we were together.
Damn.
And so the young lady I was seeing at the time was like, I don't get this. Why are you kissing her? And so again, right, we don't come from a very arts neighborhood. Yeah. So, but I thought, but they loved me. They were happy for me. And so that was the first play I did in this area. Yeah. And then that led to my first short film.
So let's go back a little bit with that first one. So your parents, they loved it, or they loved you in it.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you? Was it a little bit validating for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Right.
It was like all these years,
Yeah, well, my mom was like my best friend. She always told me how proud of me she was. Even if she didn't understand what the heck I was doing, she was always saying how proud of me she was. Nice. So to be able to showcase what I've been wanting to do for years up until that point, and for her to see it, even though she might have cringed at hearing what the words I was using, to have her in the audience, and she's like me, she's going to respond back.
Right.
So when I walked on that stage, I said, my mom was in this audience. Like any show I'm in, I can feel her in the audience. Ooh. Now my dad, he didn't really get out much. He kind of stayed, he liked being in the woods.
Yeah.
So he didn't really, I think he may have seen maybe 1 or 2 shows of mine, but he was like me. Stay at home, do your own thing. But my mom was like one of my biggest supporters. Yeah. So having her there meant a lot.
So you went to Raleigh. Was it your intention to like audition and take acting classes and stuff like that?
Sure. So I wish I could remember exactly how I found that audition.
Even when you got that audition, like, were you nervous at all? Like when you were doing it, that audition?
No, because I mean, we had learned audition techniques in school.
Okay.
So I kind of knew.
I mean, even if you learned audition
Yeah.
techniques, like your first audition, really, outside of college and stuff, right?
I can't recall actually being like nervous about it.
Oh.
That I can recall. And I'm trying to think. So I worked with the director twice. I did a short film with him and the play. I'm trying to remember which one came first. But I think if the film came first, I probably was already comfortable with him and kind of knew. Right. I think that's how it happened.
Okay.
So I kind of came in with the knowledge like, I already know him. He knows my work.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and just kind of audition for him.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I think the film did come first because I auditioned for him in a basement of a church.
Oh, great.
Right, for the film. and then he was like, hey, I wrote this thing and we're going to put it up here. I'm like, okay, I'll audition. You already know what I can do. So let me go audition. And it just kind of went on from there.
Yeah, that's nice, man.
Yeah.
So, okay, first time on stage though, like outside of college, no people you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how was that experience for you?
I've always been comfortable on stage. Actually, I'm actually more comfortable on stage. And this may sound really weird.
No,
a lot of
not to me.
times I'm more comfortable as someone else than I am as myself in front of people.
I get that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So if I was up there as Josh, I probably would have been a nervous wreck.
Right.
But I was an actor telling this man's story to these people through my interpretation.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really much nerves there.
Okay. Yeah, man.
That I can remember.
That's good. I mean, like, the preparation really is a big number.
Oh, for sure. It was a 2-character show with like pages of dialogue.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dialogue.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to it, but there's a show I'm doing now that's just as dense and heavy. Yeah. We'll get to that as well.
Damn.
But yeah, it takes a lot of knowing who you are as an actor and memorizing, and it's a lot.
Are you pretty good at memorizing?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess if you...
I just repeat over and over again.
Yeah.
And it sometimes it's to my own fault, because when you rehearse by yourself, then you get on stage, it's like, wait, why are you talking? I remember it this way.
Right.
So now you're talking like, whoa, there's another voice here.
Yeah.
How do I got to respond to that?
Right. I think a lot of actors don't realize that, like, yes, you can work at it, the script, memorizing the script.
Right.
But once you get into a different environment, it can kind of...
it's going to change.
like,
it's going to change the dynamic for sure.
Yeah, and like you might forget a line because of that. And stuff like that. So.
But I think that's what it. So character work is something I harp on a lot. If you know your character, those words are going to come.
Yeah.
Right. And if you know your character and you listen to your scene partner or your scene partners, it's all going to make sense.
Right.
What your response is, what your dialogue is, it's just going to come out of you.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, it makes sense for my character to say this or some version of this. Now, there are some actors who are word perfect and some playwrights who want you to say exactly. That's great. I'm not going to promise you that. I can't promise you that.
Right.
I'm going to give what I think the character is going to say in this moment, with that being the foundation of what he's supposed to say.
Right.
So if I paraphrase, if it gets the same emotion or it gets the same reaction, to me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not knocking those who want to be word perfect, and that's a great skill if you can do that. I'm not that person.
Right. I think that's nice because like it keeps it fresh a little bit too.
Right. Yeah. And, well, I mean, unless you're like doing Shakespeare or something like, right. Now that it makes sense there.
Yeah.
Right. Because no one knows what you're saying anyway.
Right. Of course.
Because it's all nonsensical. I mean, I love Shakespeare. Shakespeare, you're cool with me. But I don't do a lot of Shakespeare. I think I did one Shakespeare show in my career. Yeah, and that was on somebody's back porch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another story.
All right. So from then, you just started auditioning.
So it was all about making connections.
Yeah.
I know people say that a lot as a cliche, but it's the truth. So I did that show at North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater, and they brought me back. This was in the summer, I believe, and they brought me back for their Christmas show of Miracle on 34th Street.
Nice.
And it just all kind of catapulted from there. And they went to Cary Players here in Cary, and then so it just kind of building relationships along the way. But again, But the first part of me being in this area acting was me as the sole black person in these white spaces. A lot of shows I did, I was the only black guy in the show. And so I saw a show with black people. And I was like, where have y'all been? Like, I've been looking for y'all.
Right.
Like, how do I become a part of that? And so I really approached the director and was like, hey, I'm an actor. And I want to be among my people, and I see what you're doing, and I want to be a part of that. And it's not a race thing. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's like you want to be where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Where people understand you.
It's the same culture.
Right. Where the choices you're making make sense.
Right.
To them because they know that lifestyle. They
Yeah.
know what they know what this or that or that verbiage, that vernacular sounds like. It makes sense to them.
Right.
Right. So I got into that realm where I was doing shows with other black actors on stage and just loving that. And then I was like, well, where do I go from here? Like, how do I progress?
Are you trying to were you trying to find your goal at that point?
I think I was trying to find what I wanted to do with this talent and gift that I had. And I think
Like the bigger picture. Like the bigger picture.
Right. Because this is a lot of community theater.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I get this, I see what this is, but I think, again, not to be braggadocious, but I think that there's something more that I have that I can offer elsewhere into other places.
Right.
So one of the shows that I was in got into the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem back in 2019. And that received rave reviews. They say there's no big parts, but my part was, it was impactful, but it was small.
Right.
But I came back and I said, these are the stages that I want to be in. I love community theater. That's my bread and butter. Well, I won't say bread and butter, but that's my basis, community theater. But after that show, I said, I'm going to take the time to invest in myself. And I joined the Actors Equity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I joined Actors Equity after that show, and I was like...
Can you explain to the people that don't know?
Yeah, Actors Equity Association is the union for stage actors. So any show that you've ever seen on Broadway or on a regional theater stage, those are Actors Equity members. Right.
This is AFTRA, right? Is
Well,
that the
so
same as AFTRA?
so what SAG-AFTRA is for television, Actors Equity is for theater.
Oh, I thought, because I knew SAG and then AFTRA, and then they joined together.
Right. So SAG-AFTRA were both SAG and AFTRA were both separate companies for television. They were television unions.
I thought one was for
No,
theater.
they were both television. They joined together some years ago.
Gotcha.
But Actors Equity Association is the union for actors and stage managers.
Gotcha. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I
how was that?
signed up, and it was pretty swift.
Was it an audition process?
No, there's a fee. You just pay your money. No, I'll take that back. So there was an equity show that was touring in this area.
Okay.
And so they had an audition for a part. And so I auditioned. I went to a high school and auditioned in their auditorium with a Langston Hughes play. And I'm not going to get this. That's kind of how I went in there, because I'm like, these are equity people. They don't know who I am. Right. They're, And so I auditioned with a poem, not a monologue, but a poem that I had learned in college for a class. Right. Again, staying ready, not having to get ready. So I just presented this poem, and they were like, "You're who we want." Yeah. Right. And so, of course, I wasn't in the union then. Yeah. So, there's a whole breakdown of how all that works out. But they asked me to be in this show. It's called Native. It was written by a local North Carolina playwright, Ian Finley.
Nice.
This was
Finley.
Ian Finley. I'm sure you've probably heard his name before. Yeah. He's an actor and a playwright and a director. And an educator as well. Right. So, I got into that show in 2017. We started touring Eastern North Carolina, and we went as far as Florida. And so that kind of helped too when I went and did the show at the National Black Theater Festival. I'm like, hey, I already work with equity people. This is a national stage. People are enjoying what I'm doing. Why not take the moment to invest in myself and like do this for, you know, not for a living, because I'm making a living from it, but to do this, you know, seriously, take myself seriously and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to do.
Right.
So because I had already got into that equity show, I was already eligible to join equity. Right. So because of that, I presented them the shows that I had done with this equity show.
Sure.
And I paid my fee to get in.
Yep.
It's a hefty fee to get in.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is an investment in myself.
Interesting.
That's what I saw it as.
So when you were performing with, I guess, the high-level actors.
Well, people say equity is a higher level. I've seen some people in non-union shows who are just as phenomenal, in productions who are just as phenomenal as anything I've ever seen on like a national stage or a Broadway stage. So it's not a classification or a different caliber of actors.
Yeah.
It's just that we, just like a union for a regular day job.
Right.
You're just joining in and saying, hey, you know, if anything goes wrong, you're there to protect me, or you're there to watch out for me, you know, kind of to negotiate things.
Right.
That's really all it is. It's not a classification of what your talent is.
Okay, gotcha.
At all. No. But it was an equity show.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a national play?
Yes.
Or national,
Yeah.
I don't know, like tour thing or something?
Yeah, it was a national tour.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I feel like that's obviously a big jump from community theater, right?
It is.
So like, how did you handle that? Is it the same kind of thing?
It was new to me, and again, it was a smaller show. It was another 2-character show, and so within that building of the original tour, it was just myself, the other actor, and his wife, who was also the director. So we just built this camaraderie and this like mini family amongst ourselves.
That's with the
equity show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was an equity show.
That's a big part for your first one, right?
Oh, it was a huge part.
Yeah.
It's a huge part. It's what, 60 pages of dialogue with only 2 characters?
Damn.
Yeah. It was daunting.
Yeah.
It was a daunting experience. And then, so I played the role of Richard Wright, who was an African-American author, who I had never heard of. And so I had to go and find out who he was and his story. And it's a very intriguing show. Yeah. And this show tackles racism, politics, and all that. So it was a very, very thought-provoking show.
Yeah.
But again, it's the show that I've always wanted, because it brings back the drama that I learned from the soap operas and Matlock and In the Heat of the Night. Like those arguments they were making in those shows and they was presenting, I get to do that.
Yeah.
In this show.
No nerves?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got nerves this time.
Oh God, nerves. But I think nerves are a catapult or a catalyst for what you do on that stage, because it shows that I care. When I'm not nervous, I'm scared. Because like, you're too comfortable here.
Interesting.
Right? So if I'm nervous before I get on that stage, it's like, I care enough about what I'm about to present to these people who've paid their money to see me.
Yeah.
I care enough about that to be nervous about how I present this.
But if you're not nervous...
If I'm not nervous, that means I'm too comfortable. It's like, okay, I got this.
Like, it's not a challenge.
It's not a challenge.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place for me to be in. Because if I'm not challenged by it, why am I doing it?
That's true.
Because you can't grow from that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you did the play, everything was fine.
Did the play, did well with the play.
Mom came down?
Oh, my mom's seen like probably every show.
Yeah.
We were touring in like Winston-Salem and Pittsburgh and Pineville, and did we go to Virginia, or I know we went to Florida. We went several places.
Gotcha.
And my mama was gonna be there. She was gonna find a way there. She doesn't drive in traffic.
So all of them?
Majority of them. Probably 70% of them.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the ones out of state she didn't go to, but
right.
the ones were like 2 or 3 hours driving distance. She was gonna make sure somebody brought her to see her baby. Oh. And she still like that.
Yeah.
She still like that.
That's fun.
And I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. So what's so great about that play is that play led to my first feature film.
Nice, man. And what was that?
It's called The Problem of the Hero.
Okay.
And it's an adaptation of the play, and we just turning it into a feature film. We just kind of expanded the story a bit, added some more characters for the play.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the same story that I did with this same husband and wife team, and they kind of brought in some more people, and we shot it in Greensboro, actually.
Nice. So it's like an indie film.
It is.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. How was that experience for you?
It was new. I had never done an actual feature film before.
Yeah, it's not theater.
It's not at all. Well, what's so great about it, though, is that we shot the movie on a stage in Greensboro.
Perfect.
Right. So so the play is about the telling of a story between a black guy and a white guy and how they're adapting the black guy's book, the black man's book, for a theater stage.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So they're on the stage discussing how this is happening. Mm-hmm. Right. So that it marries theater and film all right there together.
Yeah.
So
did you find yourself like having to tone down for the film?
Yeah, of course. Because because the
Or
film is like right there in your face. You have to be a little bit more subtle, a bit more nuanced.
But like, I guess constantly having to, or like the director, like, oh, you're too loud again, or you know.
No, because with film, it's a slower build, right? Mm-hmm. So we kind of have to get there a bit slower than we do in the theater, because when you're in theater, you got to hit it hard.
Yeah.
Because you want to get that attention quick.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna But with film, people are usually a bit more patient with getting to the story.
That's true.
So when we got to the meat and to the climax of the story in the film, it was like because we were literally on a theater stage, it made sense to be loud and to be, big in those moments.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm so grateful that was the first film that I did.
Dude, that's awesome.
It kind of married everything together.
Yeah. That's a great first one right there.
Yeah, and it did well. So we shot it in 2020. We wrapped in like February 2020.
Okay.
And then March, the world is like stopped.
Right.
For like 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it finally came out.
Damn, you finished right in time.
Right in time. I was wrapped like maybe 2 weeks before the world just said.
Damn.
And I don't recall anything like happening during that time. Well, I probably was just being ignorant and not paying attention. Right, because that's a political thing.
COVID happened.
Right, yeah, COVID happened. So in 2023, the film finally came out in February 2023, and it's been in 10 film festivals.
Yeah.
And so far we've won 4 awards for it.
Nice, man.
Impact Award, Acting Awards, Set Design Awards. So it's done really, really well.
Very cool.
Very, very well.
Yeah.
And what's so great now is that everything's becoming full circle. So that show, Native, that I did starting in 2017, we're now doing again under the production company that I am now a part of, that my friends and I have now erected, called Reclaiming Our Time Productions. Yeah. We are now producing that show at North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater, which was the first place I did my first show. See how everything is like coming together. Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Isn't it amazing? It's crazy, right?
So talk to me about this production company.
So Reclaiming Our Time Productions, it's a group of 8 theater actors, dramaturgs, stage managers, directors. We were all like, hey, and we're all black people. We're like, hey, we see that there's a lack in this area concerning us. Yeah. We usually only see ourselves on stage in like February.
Right.
And now maybe June, because most seasons are up in June. So we really only see ourselves showcased in the 28 days of the year that we are proud to be black.
Right.
And we're like, we're more than that.
Yeah.
I'm black every day I wake up. Right. So we were like, we see where that lack is. We want to close that gap. We want to be able to say, hey, we're black faces and we want to present to you excellence. Right. That's our motto, presenting excellence, where excellence is to be expected. Yeah. Right. But we don't only want to do stage. We want to go into the schools and show them that if this is the career path you want to follow, or this is something that you have a passion for, right, this is how you can do it with people who look like you. A lot of times in schools, we don't see a lot of people who look like us in front of us. Right. Right. Even in my very rural community, a lot of my teachers were white. And except for Mr. Stevens, who was my English teacher, I think I had maybe one other black male educator. Yeah. Right. We don't see that a lot. Right. So we want to go into the schools and show them that you don't have to, if you don't want to act, you don't want to be in the front, cool. We have a director. there's a lighting guy. There's a tech guy who does sound in our group.
Yeah.
Like we want to give workshops and seminars and say, you know, we're here. We exist.
Yeah.
Right. We don't only just want to do show. Theater is our bread and butter. It's the center. It's the base of who we are. Because again, we want everyone to see that as a group of collectives, Black people coming together and presenting this, like this can be done.
Yep.
But we also want to encourage those who are coming after us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like the importance of, yes, you want to be actors, but there's also these other things that you can do at the same time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And if you're not acting, you can turn a screw. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to turn a screw.
Right. You can do that as a job. And
right.
Then, you know, act.
Actually, you're more, you're probably more apt to get a job on the tech crew than you are as an actor.
Yeah.
Right. Because there are a lot more actors than there are tech people sometimes.
Sure.
Or especially tech people with a specific set of skills. So like Taken now, but right. So there's that community that you can get into and be able to thrive there and get paid well.
Right.
The lighting guy, right, because lighting makes a difference.
Hell yeah, it does.
Right, because with my skin tone, I need as much light as I can get.
Right, and understanding different skin tones
and textures, and what looks good on black skin, what looks good on white skin, what looks good on brown skin.
Right.
What looks on albino skin. Right, that's a whole different thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know nothing about lighting. I just know I need a lot of it.
Right. Yeah. So like when you go into these schools, it's with the whole class, right? It's not just with POCs or anything like that. Right?
Well, that's our focus, our hope. But we're not saying that if you're not Black, you can't come in.
Right.
But again, we just started in February. We just launched in February of this year.
Right.
And so now we're trying to put it out there and say, hey, we're here. We can provide this. This is the knowledge that we have. This is who we have with us. And each one of us has our own, like, I don't want to say following, but has our own group of people who knows who we are as a professional in this.
In the field, yeah.
Yeah. And so we kind of go off of that and say, hey, we have this knowledge that we can present to your students.
Right.
We're actually working with a school in Knightdale, who's actually asking us to come in and do some things and help them out with their season. There's a I don't know how much I can tell, but there's some other cities who are in talks with us and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do in this community. How can you help provide for this and do that for us?
Yeah, interesting. That's very interesting.
And there's a troupe, a comedy troupe in the area as well, who has reached out to us and say, hey, we want to make sure that we're being cognizant that, you know, we're not Black, we're not people of color. How can we
diversify?
and let people be more welcome. People who aren't people of color, how can they feel more welcome in these spaces?
Right. I think I was just gonna get to that. Going into acting studios that are majority of them are white or all of them are white,
right?
And they want to diversify and stuff like that. So like I think that's important because I've seen it personally, where they try and they're like, no, we need this big budget or a big thing. No, you don't need all of that. No. So they just don't know. Well, from my experience, they didn't know how to go about it.
Right.
And it's sad to see because when POCs come into that acting studio, they don't see anybody around them that's like them, and then they do one semester and then go.
Right.
You know, and they're like, damn.
Well, I think too, the people who are in charge have to be able to say, be able to show that we want you for you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times these programs get monies from certain organizations and certain grants, and they say, hey, we got at least one person of color.
We got the token.
We got the token. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, we got the token. And so give us money.
Right.
And we go into that space knowing, oh, I know why I'm here. This is what I'm here for.
Right.
That's not a welcoming space.
No, it's not.
And a lot of times we're invited to the table. We're not made comfortable because you want our presence, but not our voice. So a lot of times we can't say what we want to say, or if we do say what we want to say, it's ignored or it's pushed aside. And it's like, okay, so my job here is just to be your token again, and to just, be able to get you financially secure to move on and do what you really want to do. Right. And we kind of talk about that. So Reclaiming Our Time Productions also has a podcast called Artistry Avenue, where we kind of talk about those subjects.
Oh, nice.
When we merge theater and social issues together, and it's like, hey, listen to us.
Yeah.
Don't just bring us in, sit us down, and take the photo op. We have something to say.
Right.
And you should at least take it into consideration.
Absolutely.
Right.
I can't stress how big that is.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think there are a lot of theater companies in this area, but I think what sets us apart is that we're not just mainly focusing on doing shows.
Right.
We want to build outside of our own little communities, because we're not going to be here forever. Everyone has an expiration date. We don't know when it is. So you want to leave a mark on those who are coming in after you.
So talking a little bit about that, like what's the goal with the
Reclaiming Our Time
production?
Our goal is to, again, maybe one show a season.
Okay.
But our main goal is to do workshops and seminars and go into schools and show young people who have a passion for storytelling, for theater, for acting, for whatever, and show them that, hey, it's good you may have gotten this teaching here, but this is how we interpret things. We're kind of setting our own, like Stella Adler and Stanislavski, we're kind of setting our own,
your own little path,
our own little skill set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to? Well, I don't know if it's. Do you think it's important to have workshops for theater owners or theater acting studios and stuff like that, and just have them grouped together to talk about it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's we haven't vocalized that, but I'm sure that's going to come down the pipeline.
Yeah.
I think initially we want to get the students and say, we're here. We're here for you. We know who you are, what you look like. You look like us, and it's okay to look like us and still be successful in this.
Right.
But of course, we would definitely love to go into theaters and let them know that, hey, we can also help you out.
Yeah.
And how
could be a partnership
your approach,
there.
right?
Yeah.
And your approach to and that's kind of what this show Native that we're doing premieres. It premiered on the 13th, and it goes for 2 weeks. But it's a partnership between EBZB Productions, which is the husband and wife team. It's a partnership with them and the North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater. So it's a partnership of all these people coming together.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing now, right?
That's what I'm doing now. So once that closes, we'll actually be going with the school in Knightdale to kind of help them with the first shows that they're doing.
Yeah.
This season. I don't want to announce it because I don't know how much I can say.
Okay.
But the educator there wanted to get our perspective because this show is centered in a certain culture.
Okay.
So they wanted to get our perspective and say, hey, because he's a white person.
Yeah.
So he says, I don't know. I want to do this show, but I don't know what this culture is. And I respect him for saying that and knowing that where he needs to take a step back.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn, that's nice, dude.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna do big things.
I hope so. We hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
we definitely hope so.
It's a problem that you're solving.
Right.
And that in itself will create success.
Yeah.
With you guys.
Yeah,
For sure.
Man.
I'm excited, man.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, man. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time.
No, you're fine. You're
fine.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people where they could maybe reach you or your
so
time?
If you want to reach me specifically, you can visit jmardrice.com. That's JMARDRICE.com to see what I'm doing. If you want to reach Reclaiming Our Time Productions, that is reclaimingourtime.org. If you also want to come see the show, I'm not sure, you said this is going to come out
Tuesday
of next week.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have another weekend of Native presented by Reclaiming Our Time Productions at the North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater. If you want to come see that, you can visit reclaimingourtime.org/current to see where those shows are. But definitely follow me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on the Twitter. I'm on all the socials. I'm not a social person, so they may not be updated, but
right.
they're there. But yeah, definitely follow me, like, share, subscribe, whatever you're supposed to say with that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But jmardrice.com, reclaimourtime.org.
Sweet. Dude, I didn't talk about something.
Yeah, what's that?
You were in a movie, right? The Supremes?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, gosh.
We forgot the main part of the damn thing.
Oh, yeah, I was in that. And that's a story, too.
Yeah?
It's a great story. So I auditioned, my agent, JTA Talent Agency in Charlotte. Yeah. They sent me the original sides for the movie. And so there was another part that I auditioned for that I didn't get. And so I auditioned, I got a call back, and I was like excited, like, oh yeah, this is about to be my, my big break. And production went another way.
Yeah.
And that happens.
As always.
Right. But the casting director was like, we enjoy what you did so much. So she called me back to meet with the director. And so I had already read the book. I believe it's Edward Kelsey Moore who wrote the book. If that's wrong, I do apologize. But I had already read the book, so I knew when they came back to me with these new characters, I kind of knew what the story was. I was daddy number one.
Okay.
Right. So the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat is about 3 black women who are become best friends, and they're referred to as the Supremes. They're not the actual Supremes like Diana Ross.
Right.
It's not that. Because when I say the Supremes, they're like, wait, Diana Ross? Like, no, not that. But the potential daddies are the backstory for one of the characters, whose mother was promiscuous, and she had a lot of men that she was dealing with, and she was pregnant. And she had all these men thinking that they were the fathers. So I auditioned for Daddy 1. And it was it was really like off the cuff. It was like very, cordial, just kind of see what you can do.
In front of the director?
In front of the director.
Nice.
They were very, very welcoming. Tina Mabry. Yeah. Very, very welcoming. And so they were like, okay, thank you. If you'll hear something from us. I'm like, okay. Like, oh, well, I mean, they went another way with the other one. I'm not going to get this. So, and then like not long after, they were like, "Hey, this is who you are. This is your call time. This is what you're being paid."
Right.
And so I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And it's a principal role.
Yeah.
Even though it might seem small in the grand scheme of things,
you're talking.
It's a principal role, right? So I get there. I have my own trailer.
Yeah.
Wardrobe and everything was ready for me. I was like,
"How was that experience for you?"
Now that's when I kind of got like, I wouldn't say nervous, but I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is a thing. This is a thing. Yeah. Like I was in wardrobe and makeup. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, I try not to get the big head, but I was like, I might know what I'm doing a little bit.
My name's on this door.
Right. What do you mean? What? And so, yeah, and we did that. We shot that. There was a lot more that we shot that didn't make the film because, of course, the cutting room floor. But it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was so you went to wardrobe, you went to makeup, obviously, right? And then you go on set.
Yeah.
And how was it like? Okay, I arrived at set. Like,
yeah.
How was that feeling?
So Tina Mabry, the director, is very, very chill. Her approach is very. I mean, of course, she means business. She has this big budget that she has to do. She has her own things, but she doesn't let that get in the way of what she's doing and being approachable. So it was a very, very chill vibe. Like there was nothing. It wasn't like very tight or you couldn't say or do anything. Like a lot of what we did was improvised.
Really?
Like the line that I do say, I don't think it was in the script.
Damn.
Right. I think the direction was, this girl comes in, and you thought you were the father of her baby. How do you feel now? That's all she said, and we just kind of went with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we did like several different takes, but
yeah.
I don't recall because we shot it some years ago. It just came out.
Oh, okay,
right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I don't recall actually having scripted lines. There were like actions that they wanted to get shot.
Damn.
But for that, because it was a flashback scene.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So she was like, she's coming in with a baby that you thought was yours, and now all these other men are in here with you, and they all think the same thing that you think. what do you want to tell her?
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a direction right there.
It is. Because there's so many ways you can go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, which one is correct, right?
Right.
Which one does this director want to see?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then how does it affect you as a character? Like, are you mad that she lied to you? Are you upset? Are you sad because you were hoping that this was your child? So yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways it could have gone.
Yeah. How did you take that? Because there's so many different ways. How did you pick which way to go?
Well, I think there were two dads who were principal. So that we knew that myself and the other guy we were going to be showcased.
Okay.
And so there was a bit of direction in the audition, the original audition of what your interpretation of it was. I was to be more upset, and the other guy was supposed to be like more, I was supposed to be more angry.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be more like sad about it.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
But again, there was no like specific lines that we had to say.
Okay.
There was just a kind of a thoroughfare we had to get through.
So you didn't like get a script to memorize and stuff?
It was 2 or 3 years ago, so I'm trying to remember. If I've checked my email,
I've never seen that. Like with the movie, like a principal role, but you don't have a script. You just kind of improv.
I'm sure there was a script, but I don't remember. I don't recall remembering lines.
Gotcha.
I'll say it like that.
Interesting.
I don't want to say for sure that it was not a script. With a principal role, there probably was.
Sure.
I don't recall learning any specific lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm waiting.
Oh,
waiting.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
Personal stuff happening.
Right, I got
you. But definitely want to see it for sure.
Well, if you
It's
see
on
it,
the list.
let me know what you think.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you don't have to tell me.
I hate it.
Oh,
Your character was awful.
I mean, hey, it's done now.
Wrong choice. Bad actor.
Oh no, that's how. So whenever I see myself on camera, it's like, who hired this guy?
Really?
I'm my biggest critic. I see my stuff, like, to hear my voice is almost nauseating at times.
Really?
Yeah. But again, a lot of people are like that. But I don't watch myself a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, ugh. Why would they hire you?
Yeah. That's kind of how I took it too.
Yeah,
When I see myself on film.
Jeez, man. But I mean, other people enjoy it, so that's kind of what it's for. And most of your gifts and your talents aren't for you; they're for other people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I go through it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I like your voice.
Thank
I like
you.
your look. I feel
Thank
like
you.
you're gonna do something big. I don't know
Oh
what
man.
it is.
Well, from your lips to God's ears.
Hey, there it is.
There you go.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Awesome, guy. That was forever.
An hour and 37 minutes.
Good God, dude. You're not going to use all of that, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, here's what it is.
How'd you feel about it? Good?
I felt good.
Okay, good.
A lot of this stuff I hadn't even thought about
Right.
until this moment.
Right.
Like, I wrote my first play in the 7th grade.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
To
man.
think about that. A 7-year-old?
God, no. No, 7th grade.
Oh, 7th grade. I mean,
7th
that's
grade.
what I meant.
No. So I started acting probably when I was like, I didn't tell the story, but I think I was in elementary school, and I'll never forget. We had to wear, like, my mom had to buy me like some green tights. I don't even know what the show was. I think it was something that somebody like made up, and I looked a complete fool. I don't know what I was playing. I remember her buying me these green tights that I could barely get in. I was much skinnier then, so that's how tight they were. And I think I was a frog or something. I don't know. But after that, after the performance was done, there was an applause. I was like, I like this. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I really said ribbit, if anything. But I felt like completed in that moment almost.
Interesting.
And that was like, I hadn't thought about that till just now. I was like, I'm gonna ask my mom about that. But it's like 6 or 7 years old. And I didn't really want to do it because, again, I was very shy, very quiet.
Sure.
But that applause, I was like,
It is
this
something.
makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. And then, God, no, I know you don't have to use any of this, but we were in church one time, and so the elderly people of the church were telling the history of the church.
Okay.
Right? So they wanted to do like a talk show type thing. And so they said, Josh, you want to be the host? I was like, no, not really. They said, well, we think you can do it.
Yeah.
And so I did like this Phil Donahue thing while I introduced, my grandmother was one. And so that was the comfort there. I was like, okay, grandma got me. So I can't fail. Grandma's there. And I just like interviewed, God, man, I was thinking about this stuff. And I just like interviewed the elderly mothers and the older guys of the church. And it was like a full-on talk show.
Damn.
I think that's recorded somewhere too.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, you have. I started acting when I was 24.
Really?
Yeah, and
wow.
I remember taking an intro to acting class at the Raleigh Little Theater.
Okay.
And I did a monologue, and as soon as I finished my monologue, everyone was like, wow, that's nice. This is his first time? What?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God, I want that. I like that.
Me.
Yeah. So I got the bug, man. And,
man.
I got an agent and
Sweet.
started doing a bunch of commercials, industrials. And
Love it.
Did a TV show. And
oh, yeah. Oh, God, industrials. Yeah. Industrials get slept on.
That's true.
They are good. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't booked, I don't know, maybe I don't guess I'm too stoic sometimes for commercials. I haven't booked commercials yet.
You got that film look too.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
You do have like a character look too.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, for this market, I don't know. Because, it's starting to build now because, Wilmington's doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
They just got that new TV show. The Running Rounds or something.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, they just so hopefully that'll bring some work for us.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So
keep
doing you, bro.
You do the same, guy. I'm proud of you. This is incredible. I love this.
Thank you.
I want to steal some of these ideas probably.
Hey, if you ever want to riff ideas, let me know.
Sweet.
All right.
Sounds good, man.